Okay, so now we expand on the shell defense even further because, as I mentioned before, and first off, we don't want to just be static either, but we don't want to be predictable to where he, if you're always dealing with his jab in the same way, he's going to eventually find a way around it if he's an intelligent fighter. And if you always shoulder roll his cross, he'll wise up, throw 1-2, and then he says, okay, you keep shoulder rolling my cross, he's going to do a 1-4, step in a little deeper, and he's going to drop that overhand right over my shoulder roll, and he'll get me on the temple, which is no picnic for me. So, these are the things a person will do to adjust. So you got to be ready. One thing you can do, expanding on it, is whenever you see it coming in higher, you suddenly do a quick roll underneath it. You weave it like this. So he does a 1-2, and then he throws a 1-4. And I see just this coming. I barely get under it in time. Even if it grazes the top of my head, it won't bother me. But the idea, though, is, and this is pretty much an axiom for all of boxing, is that whenever you move just a little bit, it takes a lot of the sting off of a punch. So even if I just barely get out of the way of a 1-4 and just get under it, it grazes the top of my head. And I'm taller than Gabe, so it would be a little bit easier if we were the same height. But I wouldn't, my point is I wouldn't weave under someone's punch if they were Gabe's height. But nevertheless, the point stands that you think of moving and getting under it and not just relying on one barrier. Another secondary would be like this here, and I just do this just in case it's an overhand, and it gives me some. Now I might knock my hand a little bit, but there's a lot of cushion there, all right, and I can withstand that. But the downside of that is it obscures my vision, so I wouldn't use that very often. Okay, so now we look at where he's throwing the jab cross, and what I can do also is instead of parry shoulder roll, do the 1-2. Instead of this, I can also, this gets into the realm of like half beat, broken rhythm attack, but which is more advanced, but it's very useful. Where I just do a quick parry and a jab right off of that. When his cross is just getting off, when it's just halfway there, not even halfway there. So he throws a 1-2, boom, boom, and I just throw that as I'm moving. And secondarily, I'm moving this way and turning it downwards, so even if his cross got off, it'll be off target or it'll bounce off of my shoulder. You got to remember that a punch is like a bullet. It can't change course once it is launched. All right. So once I move my head a little bit, his punch is still committed in that direction. This is one of the mistakes sometimes people make when they're doing partner work and everything's slow. They do this and they track him over there. The punch was originally going to go there, and unconsciously they do that, and that's common with even beginners will do that. But that isn't how punches go. Once you throw it, it's going to go where it was aimed and where your body mechanics were driving it. You can't change that midway in the punch. And so taking advantage of that, when I get him to throw his cross, or even if I think he might throw the cross, I just go boom, boom. All right, you just kind of you do a quick little, it's a quick little parry, a pat, or even almost like a catch. But he throws the jab, boom, boom. All right, really quick, very forceful with this, and then that inserts on the half beat. Now another way that we expand on, I mentioned movement with the Philly shell, which is also closely related to the cage defense. Not exactly the same thing. People tend to mix up the two. Cage defense is more like this, where your arms, you can raise them up. And at the moment a punch comes, you wouldn't leave them there because you leave your body open, but you can, as you're moving, you can morph it into some related defenses, but you're moving your feet. People have this idea, maybe it's because of the way they practice, they stand still, and then he throws 1, 2, 3. And they're used to just planting on the whole thing. Well, move your feet. If he's throwing a 1-2, and then I may not have to do the 3, and then I can maybe throw my 2 as he adjusts. So you don't just stand there and wait and expect everything to bounce off. That's the idea behind like an immobile or static fortification. Look up the Maginot Line in history with the French. The same thing is true of mass warfare as it is man-to-man. It's standing still, you're kind of dead in the water. You got to move. Now the other thing is, another change up for the Philly shell, the shell defense in general, is getting inside. So now watch, he throws a 1, 2, 3, but he's going to go 1, 2, 3, 2. We'll do it slowly. 1, 2, 3, 2. There's my in. Brings it back. And now I go hook, right there in the pocket for a hook to the body. He blocks it with his elbow. He throws an uppercut because that loaded up his arm. I pat that down. I throw a hook, he weaves under it. He came out on his left foot, which means he throws the cross. I'm in position to roll, and he throws the hook, and I block. So I was in and I was out off of that, starting with the 1, 2, 3. parry, shoulder roll, block. So we do this again. 1, 2, 3, 2. I can only go this way because I was in the center. Elbow block, catch the uppercut, weave the hook, shoulder roll across, block the hook. You can expand it further, it just doesn't end. It goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 2, same as before. Here, uppercut, weave, here, here. Now, instead of just weaving under it, I can either choose to go underneath and go to the body, like this. We'll do the whole thing again. 1, 2, 3, 2. Now right here, instead of doing this, or I do this, and he goes here. Now, he may throw the hook, and I go under, and he throws the cross. I go under, and I go up top, he goes under. He goes under. All right, then he throws the hook again, and we're back at the block for the hook. You can connect it a number of ways to getting in and going to the body. And last of all, at any point at all, you can throw a lag punch and just pivot off the line. So let's say we're here, and I go 1, 2, 3. He throws a 2 again, there. All right? Or he throws 1, 2, 3, and then I go off it. You gotta bring it back. You don't leave it out there. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I go off the line this way to reposition, and then I can pivot and hit and even add in other things. So that's another thing, another piece of advice is when you're throwing punches, I realize that in this case my partner's waiting because he wants to figure out what I'm going to call out next. But in reality, you want to make sure you do withdraw the punch so that it doesn't stand there in the way, because it wouldn't be like that in reality. But at any point you find your head going to one side, you can come under and do a lag punch to the body. You go under. That's where your lead becomes a bit more ambiguous. You notice I can step this foot here or this foot here. Or I can do the pivot first. Pivot. Oh, that loads up a big one. From here, pivot. It's a big one. You can lag as you go, or you can pivot first and then throw the leg. The main thing is you feel your body weight shifting into it. Shifting into it. Right off the get-go, or off the shifted weight and pivot. Shifted weight and pivot. And you got it. That's also very good to exploit an opponent who doesn't move very much. If he's very static, then you can pivot around him and you can get that lag shot.